Welcome everybody to my channel. My name is Rainer. This is Rainier Books on this Friday night here in Stockholm. I want to give you an overview about the books that I'm currently reading, that I'm planning to read over the course of the next week. And this is probably valid for the month of August and September. August has just started, as you know. I haven't done a wrap-up for a while for several reasons, which I'm going to explain in another video soon. But let me get this video started and talk about the pile of books that you saw in the beginning. Without further ado, let's rock it! So I made a small pile from this big pile, and the small pile looks like this. These are the three books that I'm starting to talk about now. All the three books are long listed for the Booker Prize of 2021. I'm not going to read the Dirty Dozen, or whatever it's called, the Booker Dozen it's called, not the Dirty Dozen. The 13 books that are nominated for the longest, because I'm not interested in all of them. There are a bunch of books that I'm definitely not interested at all in. So, but I picked some of them, and some of them I get from the library, and the first one actually that I laid my hands on and that I put my eyes on was Sunjeev Sahota's novel China Room. Sunjeev Sahota, who has also been shortlisted for his novel The Year of the Runaways in 2015. He's a British author born and raised in the United Kingdom, has won lots of awards. He lives in Sheffield. And China Room is a novel that has as its main characters two related people. One woman starts in the novel as a very young girl, 15 years old, in 1929, living in rural Punjab in India. And she didn't fall in love, but she was married to one of three brothers. The three brothers get married to different underage girls, but the girls are not allowed to see their husbands during the day, only at night when everything is completely dark. And when these husbands want to have sex with them, then they are in physical contact with them, but they still don't know who the husband is, you know. And the story circles a lot around this character of let me call her the great-grandmother. Her name is Mihar. Mihar. It's a very sad story, and it's a story about suppressed women and girls who are not capable, not allowed to choose a life of their own. And this is a very sad story, and after 50 pages I had to DNF this book because I didn't want to read on. This is, luckily I have to say, so far away from my my world, and usually I love to get to know other worlds to make me more educated, and to educate me, and to widen my horizons. But this was so depressive in a way. And then comes in this 18-year-old boy coming from England, born in 1981. In 1999 he comes to Punjab, to rural Punjab, you know, comes from England. And he also inhabits the China Room, which is a room on a little farm in rural Punjab, where Mihar has lived so many years before the narrator. The narrator is a young man from England with Indian descent, and he is a heroin addict. He tries to get rid of his addiction. He has suffered a lot in his childhood and in his juvenile years. And, well, after 50 pages I said, no, I'm not going to read on. Maybe this is a masterpiece. I don't think it is, because the writing didn't immerse me easily enough. And I think it's good writing, what Sunjeev Sahota is doing here, but it's not masterfully written. So I decided not to read on. I'm sorry. Blame me, whatever you do. But I have decided now to give every book from the Booker list that I'm getting, mostly from the library, 50 pages, and then I decide, will I read on or not? This is not about bought books, you know. Books that I buy, I usually read until the end, and usually I'll make a buying decision. To buy a book is a different decision than to borrow a book, right? And I think for all of us. So it's easier to DNF a book that you just borrowed from the library. The second book that I haven't read anything yet that is nominated for the Booker Prize, and it's also on the short list of the Women's Prize this year that will be handed out in September, is No One Is Talking About This by Patricia Lockwood. Patricia Lockwood is a young American author, and this is her first novel, and this is said to be about the impact of social media. I've been warned for this novel that the first part is not good, but the second part is really good. But I don't know, because the first part is 100 pages, and the second part is, I don't know, another 100 pages maybe. So I will try to give it a try, and then I will decide. No One Is Talking About This by Patricia Lockwood. The third Booker book on my list for reading that I'm currently reading, actually I have already read 2/3 of it, and I really like it, is Kazuo Ishiguro's novel Klara and the Sun, which was, I think, the greatest favorite to be on the long list, at least, of the Booker Prize this year. And it got on the long list for this man who has won the Booker Prize, who has won the Nobel Prize for Literature, who has been born in Nagasaki in Japan, but moved to England when he was 5 years old. And two of his novels, The Remains of the Day and Never Let Me Go, are super duper trooper famous, and I haven't read them. I know that some of you who have read The Remains of the Day and Never Let Me Go were pretty disappointed with Klara and the Sun and said, oh my god, I expected so much but it didn't deliver. I had so high expectations after reading these two novels. I didn't have any expectations about this, and I'm really liking this. This is the story about an AF. Her name is Klara. And she is nourished by the sun. An AF, that's an artificial friend. And this book is somewhere in the future. Not so far away, probably. Let it be 20 years, let it be 25 years, it isn't set. When there is a categorization of humans, when there are certain things, there are oblongs, that sounds a little bit like iPads, there are certain devices that people have that we don't have yet. And there are AFs, and AFs, artificial friends, are, well, people like you and me, I could say. They apparently look like humans, they feel like humans, they act like humans, but they're artificial. And you can buy them in a store, and Klara is an artificial friend, and she has been chosen by a teenage girl named Josie. Josie is very sick, and she can't go out that much, and her mother decides to give her an artificial friend, an AF. And Klara is trying to take in as much as possible from her environment where she's living in, from Josie, from her mother, from the neighbors, from Rick, from everyone who visits the house, from Melania, housekeeper. I think that was a reference to Melania Trump, which is not very funny actually, but never mind. This is a very entertaining book, and it's also a very serious book, and it has a flow of language, of using language that I didn't experience when I read Sunjeev Sahota. There's a very easy, it's not shallow, but it's a sort of a natural flow of language and of development in this story by Kazuo Ishiguro that I really, really like. And it tells us a lot about a future that is to come, because everyone is talking about artificial intelligence. I know not too much about it, but I know that the future is maybe not so bright. I listened to one of the future, the people who do research about the future, and last year, I think, before Corona came, and he was sort of asked, you know, what gives you the most anxiety for the future? And he said, well, we have a lot of nuclear weapons, we have climate change that looks very, very bad and very, very dangerous for all of us, but I think the greatest danger for our future is artificial intelligence. That is not being expressed in the book, but this book expresses a normal life, actually, even if it's in the future, and things like loneliness, things like we're acting out, that things that we don't mean, that we hurt other people, and I really like. And I will make a single review when I'm ready with it and with more thoughts about it. Klara and the Sun by Kazuo Ishiguro. How do I carry on? Yeah, I carry on with another little pile of books. I'm still reading How the One-Armed Sister Sweeps Her House by Cherie Jones from Barbados. have read about 100 pages now, and I think it's very much okay, so I will continue reading this, although it's still not so that the story has sort of gripped me that I don't want to put the book away for a minute and want to read it out. I still have struggled sometimes with the violence and with the characters and the hopelessness that is also here, but it's a different kind of hopelessness, a different kind of poverty that is expressed here, and there seems to be a possibility of an exit for, at least for some people in this world, of how the one-armed sister sweeps her house. This is about Baxter's speech, about two families, basically a family of women, about a woman named Klara. She's very young and it's Lala. She's very young and she has a baby, but she has a relationship. I think she's married to a man who's a very bad guy, Aiden, the father of her baby, who has killed someone, who is a robber, who robs people, and who is ruthless and has no conscience, actually. And, well, let's see how it goes with Lara. How the One-Armed Sister Sweeps Her House by Cherie Jones. Next book that I'm still reading, maybe I'm reading too much books at a time now, but sometimes it just happens like this. I'm also reading The Undocumented Americans by Karla Cornejo Villavicencio, an American author who has a background in Mexico. The Undocumented Americans is a book that she has written about her fellow undocumented Americans. She was an undocumented American, a DACA, a dreamer, and she has written this book about people who are living in the US without having documents, illegal people in the United States. And the first part that I've read plays out on Staten Island, New York, a very rich part of New York and a very white part of New York, but still there are a lot of day workers from who are undocumented who work on Staten Island. And I have learned from the beginning of this book that the people who are treated very badly by the authorities, by ICE, and even by conservative Americans, that it were undocumented Americans who, I think 1/3 of the workers who cleaned the rubbish, who cleaned the city after 9/11 in New York, were undocumented, and that undocumented workers are essential workers in the United States. They also have helped to a great extent the people who were victims of the Hurricane Katrina. That's something that I have learned in the first part of this book, and these are the books I'm reading. No, I'm also reading Museum of Abandoned Secrets by Oksana Zabuzhko for the Post-Soviet Book Club, and I have to give an excuse to all my fellow book clubbers here because I'm probably far behind. I know that some of you already have read more than half of the book. That's more than half means 360 pages because the book has 724 pages, right? I'm about 110 pages in now, and actually you should have some books beside you while you're reading this with different histories of the Ukraine, but it's very interesting to read this, although I cannot put the puzzle together. It's a museum of abandoned secrets we're talking about, and the author has, Oksana Zabuzhko, who is a philosopher from her education, she has built different rooms, and she narrates the book like if it were a house, like if it was a museum with several rooms and several sort of topics in these rooms. And the language is, wow, it's amazing. And I will give a full review of this book when I'm ready, but it will take me probably into September to finish this, because I cannot read much every day of it, because it really is very, it demands something from the reader, a lot of concentration. Well, in September, to continue the TBR talk, because now it's about TBR, the Post-Soviet Book Club is going into September, and in September we're already going to read the third book in our series of books from post-Soviet republics and also post-Soviet countries, and we're going to Poland to an author called Dorota Mazlowska, and her novel Snow White and Russian Red. Snow White and Russian Red. I mean, these are, so currently I'm reading 5 books. Currently I'm reading 5 books at the same time. And these are, of course, a part of my TBR, because I'm reading them, right? Maslowska would be number 6 for the Post-Soviet Book Club for August and September. Then I have still 2 from the library that I think I've shown them already. That's why I show them quite shortly now. Caleb Azumah Nelson, Open Water. Something that I had expected to be on the long list for the Booker Prize. A love story to black people in London about life for Afro-British people, and about love. And the second book that I am going to read from the library right now is The Bad Muslim Discount by Syed M. Masood from the United States. He grew up in Karachi in Pakistan, and this is about 2 families from Pakistan who have emigrated to San Francisco and their life over there in modern America. And I love the cover of The Bad Muslim Discount. So these 2 are from the library, and now we're coming to the rest, and then the video's sort of finished, hopefully. And then we have, of course, the Booktube Prize, and I'm judging the final. August and September are the months for the Booktube Prize that is organized and administrated by the great channel Bader Hortz. 6 novels. I'm judging the novel, the fiction part. There's also the non-fiction part of the Booktube Prize. I'm judging the final for fiction, and 3 of the books are here on my pile, and I have to read them or give them a sort of overview reread. A book that I haven't read yet is My Dark Vanessa by Kate Elizabeth Russell. Second book is that I'm having here already is The Vanishing Half by Brit Bennett. And another book that I've read and listened to in combination is the Booker Prize winner of 2020, Shuggie Bain by Douglas Stuart. Additionally, there are 3 more books in the finals of the Booktube Prize. There are 6 books. The other 3 are The Death of Vivek Oji by Akwaeke Emezi. The 5th one is by Carter Sickles. I always forget the title. I will put it in the video, which I haven't read, which I have ordered, which I have to read in September. And the 6th novel is Hamnet by Maggie O'Farrell that I read last year. That is the 6th novel of the Booktube Prize. So I have 5 books that I'm currently reading. I have to read My Dark Vanessa, Open Water, Bad Muslim Discount, Snow White and Russian Red, and Carter Sickles, and that's it. So that's a long TBR for the months of July and August, and there was a long video. Want to buddy read with me? Please drop me a comment down below. We can arrange that. Always, that's always welcome. And if you want to join the Post-Soviet Book Club, please write me a note and I can send you a link to the closed Facebook group of the Post-Soviet Book Club. And you can read with us Snow White and Russian Red in September. And this was today's video, the TBR, or currently reading TBR, a video of Friday, August 6th. Today, Canada won gold in the women's soccer tournament in Canada by beating Sweden by 3-2 after penalties. It was a tough game for some of the players that I have met and that I have interviewed. Also, it was a great game, of course, for the Canadian goalkeeper Stephanie LeBay that I met 10 years ago. I'm so happy for her as well. So there's always, when you know players like I do, there's always sorrow and joy in the same game. But it was really a great event. Well, that's just off thread, I would say. Wear a mask, because today Christian Drosten, the German, one of the greatest experts in the world on coronaviruses and on this current coronavirus, Christian Drosten, who's the head of the Charité virology department in Berlin, Germany, tweeted this morning that he is fearing that the fall of 2021 will be the period when the risk of getting infected with COVID-19 is as high as it never has been before during this pandemic. And get your second shot if you can. If you live in a country that gives you the opportunity to give you 1 or 2 shots, take it. And we should export more of our vaccines to all the countries that cannot afford, that cannot get vaccines, because this will only be over when everyone is safe. Thank you very much for watching. Hope to see you very soon. Have a great evening. Bye-bye.